Well, moving now to our hot seat segment. What if AI agents could actually learn on the job, just like humans? That's the big bet Soham Ganatra is making with his startup Composio, which recently raised $29 million in Series A funding, led by Lightspeed Venture Partners, backed by some of the biggest names in tech, from HubSpot's Dharmesh Shah to Vercel's Guillermo Rock. Composio claims it is building the infrastructure that allows AI agents to improve through experience, not just better prompts. Already powering over 200 companies, the platform enables shared learning across agents, turning static tools into adaptive AI systems. To break down how they are doing it, joining me now is Soham Ganatra, the co-founder and CEO of Composio. Soham, welcome to Startup Street. You've said AI agents aren't stuck because of enterprise resistance, but because they can't actually learn from experience, and Composio enables AI agents to build intuition. Now, that's a bold promise. First, Soham, if you could elaborate on the core limitation here and how is Composio solving it? Walk us through how your reinforcement learning layer works in practice.
So thanks a lot for having me. Appreciate you inviting me here. So if you think about it today, AI agents are like an employee that joins on the first day and always remains on the first day, right? So if a new person joins our organization on the first day, they're like learning the ropes of how things work. But like by the 30th day, they've figured it out and they already know all the processes. They've like accumulated a bunch of knowledge around how your organization works, and eventually sort of they're able to accomplish tasks. Today, AI agents don't learn anything over time. So they basically, the way they operate is that they are still making the same mistakes on the 30th day, on the 300th day, and maybe on the 3000th day, right? And we are trying to solve that by making them learn so that like they can actually improve and they can be more valuable as time passes on. Yeah.
Okay. So, Soham, you're basically building what you call the missing infrastructure for AI. Now, beyond prompt tuning or workflow integration, you're enabling shared learning between agents. Now, what does that really mean and how does it work under the hood? Give us a real-world example of how a developer benefits from using Composio instead of starting from scratch.
So if you think about it today, like every time a developer tries creating an AI agent and like taking it to production, what they realize is that, oh, you know what? I'm dealing with like a bunch of authentication issues. I'm dealing with a bunch of sort of edge cases because Salesforce API doesn't really talk about the specific parameter that now I'm supposed to deal with it, right? Oh, maybe there's a rate limit issue here, and like I only could call this API like X amount of times. And
Yeah.
so they all face the same problem, they all solve the same problem, and like as the sort of agent like goes more and more in real world use cases, as you see more and more sort of production use cases, you figure out more and more of these problems over time. What we do is we build a shared sort of learning layer that allows all the agents, like whatever problem they're facing, to sort of accumulate the knowledge at a single place and then allow developers to sort of tap into it. So when they are building any agent out there, they are able to just go live without
Okay.
worrying about all of these issues, right? And so one example of this would be like maybe GitHub has a different enterprise APIs that you don't really know about. And like now that like you are tapping into the shared learning layer, you don't really need to know about it. You just like get the advantage of it directly.
All right. You already have over 100,000 developers on the platform. Tell us what's driving this adoption. Who are your early believers? And give us a sense of your current business growth numbers. What kind of revenue traction are you seeing at this stage?
Yeah, I think like the promise that we made, which was like, hey, you all will be facing this issue, kind of resonated with a lot of folks out there. We grew like really rapidly into 100,000 plus developers. We have like a lot of folks from YC, like very small startups, or just starting up, starting to use us, to some of the largest customers out there that you could think of in Fortune 100 companies already using us for their production use cases. We essentially have more than 200 plus companies out there that are paying us millions of requests like being sort of managed on a day-to-day basis. And I would say we are in seven figures revenue. Yeah,
Okay.
currently.
Seven figures revenue. Okay. Give us a sense of what developers and companies are building with Composio today and what use cases are gaining the most momentum.
Yeah, I think like you of course start with like a very base set of use cases like let's say support request automation, right? So you have requests coming in from Zendesk, Slack, Jira, and like what you want to do is you want to figure out like how do I sort of take this and like automate a bunch of these things using Composio. Maybe the second sort of very popular set of use cases are developer tooling, right?
Okay.
I want to build a sort of pull request review bot.
Hmm.
I want to build something around sort of my sort of deployments, right, and managing them. All of those things you could do through Composio. Then we have like a lot
Okay.
of sales automation going through us. Yeah.
Sure. Soham, tell us what's the bigger vision here? Is Composio laying the rails for a new class of self-improving AI software?
Yeah, I think we're trying to do that, right? The idea here is like instead of like static AI agents or static AI, the way you think about it, we essentially are trying to build like a sort of dynamically learning AI that keeps improving over time, that keeps understanding what are the mistakes it's making, and then basically adheres to whatever sort of the best process that you follow, the sort of the depending
Sure.
on like your liking, and like make sure that it gives you the best experience out there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's now talk about your Series A funding with this $29 million in the bag. What's the immediate roadmap? What are you prioritizing? Is it team, product, markets? And how do you plan to stay ahead of what's becoming an incredibly competitive space?
Yeah, I think like what we are focusing right now on first is improving sort of the infrastructure because we are at the end of the day an infrastructure company and we need to scale up rapidly. So a lot of like focus as a team is going on that. The next focus is like building the skill coverage. Today, we already have 20,000 plus things that an AI agent that could do on top of Composio. We are rapidly expanding that and plan to get to like million skills out there. We're also working on reinforcement learning and essentially a lot of research around that and like how do we sort of develop like sophisticated like learning sort of patterns and like understand them quickly. And like, of course, to do all of this, we are like hiring at a bunch of places across US and India, and a lot of like focus going towards that.
All right. And on that note, we'll have to wrap up our discussion. Many thanks, Soham, for joining us on Startup Street today and wish you the very best for all your growth plans.
Thank you. Thanks a lot for having me.
With that, it's